What is going on YouTube? It's your boy Jay-Z Bottom Lip, and today I wanted to discuss to you guys about carried. I feel like a lot of times people misuse this word, so I wanted to make this video to help clarify what the word carried means. So next time that you use it, you'll be able to use it correctly. Anyway, let's get right into this video. So for this example, I'm going to be breaking down, well, not necessarily breaking down, I guess you could say it at the same time, but in reality, I'm really just trying to get you to understand what carried looks like. And Baraka is a great example of that. There's other few characters in the game that's considered carry, but we'll discuss that later. Or you can just ask me in the comments below, or you can ask me in my Discord. It's all up to you. Anyway, let's get right into this video. All right, so if you are trying to understand how Baraka is played or what makes him strong, I will help you understand that. So let's go over to special moves, and let's pay attention to his enhanced special moves. Now, if you look at his enhanced special moves, some of his special moves do dot damage, but not only do they do dot damage, they also do block damage for a duration, increased to be exact. So for an example, or what that means is that if I shoot this projectile on hit, first of all, right? Not only do they take dot damage, as you see their health going down, but they also take increased block damage. So what does that look like? Let's say I did something like this, right? Now look at his health. Look at all that chip he just took just because I did this. He's taking a lot more chip from that. This is one of the things that make this character very strong, because not only is it doing two things, but a lot of his strings are very long. And on top of that, if you look at a lot of his moves, they have really good what's the word, block advantage. So if you look at his moves, right, you have stand 1, -1, you have -4, you have -3, you have this one right here, -3, you have +2, +1, -2, 0, -3, even his down 2 is -2, +3, -2. So what I'm getting at is a lot of his strings are very good and they stagger very well. So with that being said, if I wanted to, I can do some of my strings and make my opponent scared. After I already chipped them like this, I can start staggering strings like this and taking my turn back. This right here is very scary because he's the only character, I believe, they took it away from Raiden, but he's the only character I believe, and I apologize if I'm incorrect, but again, let's say it for the third time, but I believe he's the only character in the game that can do down poke into special moves and you can't do anything about it. He can do this with a lot of his strings. It doesn't matter. So like sometimes his strings can be staggered like this, and he can do things like this. That's also very strong. And what also makes this very carried is that it's very simple and effective. But not only is it effective, is that this string in particular is negative. He can cancel into Kano and take his turn back. And not only can he use Kano ball, but he can also use the knives, and it jails. It's very hard, and it's very few characters they can do this and keep their turn and jail you. Sometimes you have to be very specific on the timing with your character, because the block stun does not necessarily work with Kano knives. It gives them enough time to actually mash after or in between mash. But this move in particular is very strong, and it allows you to jail this. So with that being said, you can start creating mind games that are very simple that your opponent has to play because of how effective this character moves are. For an example, I'll give you another example. This right here has so many different ways that you can counter this. You can neutroduct this string. This one is also punishable. But why have to play these games with your opponent? Or why do negative strings when you can just keep your turn? How do you keep your turn? You can do things like this. There's no gap here unless you play like Serena Kameo, or if you want to armor through it. But let's also think about another thing that came up not too long ago on things that you can do with Baraka to stop your opponent from armoring. So now you can start doing things like this, and this gels, and your opponent can't do anything about it. This is very strong as well. So now, if you want to, you can do things like that. And on top of that, a lot of his strings are safe or relatively safe, which allows you not being able to punish them. For an example, he has a move that is 4-3 that is very strong. It's -7, so essentially you can take your turn back, but it's still safe and it launches. So since it does these things, it becomes very strong in the sense where you don't have to think too much about your actions. This is what you consider carried. When you don't have to think about risk reward, you can just throw strings out. It gives you this idea that the person that you're playing is brain dead. Brain dead and carried go hand to hand because the character is carried and the player behind the character is considered brain dead. And we consider this brain dead because there's no thought process or risk reward on the actions that you're doing. You're just throwing buttons out. And since you have great buttons, you can do such. Now, not saying that Baraka isn't a great design. I think he's a great design. I'm just saying that a lot of things about this character is very carried, because the only reason I feel like Baraka should lose is if he's playing a character that literally outspaces him and it doesn't allow him to do certain things that he wants to do. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is Baraka wants to be able to abuse you with this string because whatever reason NRS thought this was a good idea to make this move look like an overhead but a low. This move is so effective because visually it throws your opponent off no matter what, because they see a move that looks like an overhead but it's a low. It's the only move in the game that looks like such. So your opponent most likely would get hit or opened up by this because it looks like an overhead. Not only does it look like an overhead, it also breaks armor with ease. Even if you only get the second hit to come out, you can also cancel it. So since you can cancel it, not only are you going to be easier to break their armor, you don't have to think about it because not only is it 2 hits, this also jails. So they can't wake up here. This is very effective. This is very strong. So Baraka also has multiple ways to be able to create dot damage, or a couple ways I'll say. So he has this way, but not only does he have this way, if you open your opponent up and you do a combo like this, I apologize, let's keep it simple, you also get dot damage off of this. As you can see, my opponent is losing health. Now, remember what I said, he has really good buttons. So that means when you are in this dot damage state, I can also do things like this to you. You're going to be scared to take your turn back. Why? Because at any moment, I can cancel into a special move. I can do things like this. I can do this. I can do this twice and take my turn back. I can also do this. Show you all the things that he can do. I can do this. 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 I can do that. I can do this. I can do this. I can do anything I want. Also, I also have a sweep that is +1. And since it's +1, most characters are not that scary because all they're going to do is down poke you. He doesn't end there. He can do sweep. Then he can do things like this. And then he can take his turn back. And what's so crazy is this move is also +1. So if he went into sweep, did this stand one again, stand two again, he's +1. Then he can do things like this, stagger in your face, throw you off because you're looking for a down poke, and he'll never throw it out because he can automatically go for a grab after. Just because you're so scared of the poke into special move, he can start down poking you and taking his turn because you're not ready for it. Or you most likely will think that you can go challenge him after a down one, and then he does spinny blade, and then you die for it. Another thing about this character that I think is carried is that when he accidentally or he just throws the string out and you get hit by it and he calls Kano, he still gets a combo off of it. Just like that. And you can also do it later. As you can tell. Look, I'm going to do it even later. I still get a combo off of it. No thought process at all. There's very few characters. I would say maybe about him and maybe another character or such. Very rare where a character can do something like this, still be able to get enough damage and combo how he wants easily without any thought process behind it. His combos are also very, very simple. And again, like I said, they're also very effective. These are going to be a B&B combo that you would never drop that automatically does 28%. Now, if you wanted to, I'm pretty sure there's other streams that you can probably do that will guarantee you more damage. Maybe spinning a bar or such. But ultimately, all his strings are going to do the exact same thing. Whether you do this string, and this does 30%, and you're pushing your opponent to the corner as well. This character is very, very, very effective, very strong, and also very carried. There's also a few more things that we can talk about as well. This move is also -2. I talked about certain spacing in my videos that you guys should also look into. When it comes to spacing, right? If I throw the string out, look how advancing the string is. If I wanted to, I can space this out perfectly where it puts me at this range. If I wanted to, I could be even closer, as you can see. But I can also play in my range where I can do things like this and throw you off. These are what you call staggers, but also very strong staggers, because this is, like I said, +1. This -2. So essentially the idea, if I feel as if you're going to mash, you're going to try to take your turn back, I can always do down one. It's a special move to not only end my turn, but to gain my turn back on the contrary. So most of the time what happens is at a certain level or a high level of fighting games, your opponent will do certain things to try to challenge you to take his turn back. How did he does that? He'll do a certain certain stagger, and he'll most likely challenge you by down poking you because he's essentially thinking that you're going to press the wrong button by you taking your turn back with a high. So he'll challenge you with a down poke. And remember, if you get hit by a down poke, you can ultimately jail with a stand poke. I'll show you what that looks like. So the way that you can tell if a move jails or not is that if you take a move and then you try to stagger it like this, you see how it doesn't jail? My opponent can ultimately duck after. That's because I'm not doing the timing correctly and I'm trying to prove a point to you. So essentially what happens is I can jail off of this if I do that, but not all my strings jail. I'm trying to think of a string. Okay, string like this, right? This string is on hit advantage is 12. I will never be able to gel this. This will never gel because the startup is 16, right? So the idea behind this is that most players who down poke you is because they're trying to take their turn back or steal their turn back, hoping that you get hit by a down poke. Then once you get hit by that down poke, they take their turn back. But the difference between this character, it does not matter because he can do down poke and he can jail you. See how all that jailed? This is what you call carried, because not only does he end his pressure hoping that you get hit, but he's also the only character, I talked about this before, is that he becomes safe even if you get hit in between the setup. This is very, 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 very rare, because most times when you mess up your setup and your opponent gets your special move comes out before your cameo, you'll be able to punish the character for mistiming their cameo. So I'll show you what that looks like really quick. If he does something like this and you get hit between any of this, hold on, show you really quick, do it correctly. Yeah, he's blocking. Okay, cool, he's blocking. All right, so you can do things like this and be safe. Watch this. Trying to take the hit. I guess I have to do it a little. All right, so let's see. Oh, I guess, let me see. I think it only works in the corner. Let's see. I'm gonna get it. Because I really want to show you guys this. That's safe for him. Let's see if I can show you in the in mid screen. Also have the mid screen. Man, I can't get it. Yeah, I can't get it. But if you watch other high level players, I'll probably clip it when I'm streaming or something like that. I could go back into my stream and show you, honestly, but I'm being lazy. But basically what happens is this character right here, if I try to take the hit and time it perfectly, so he can, so Kano can come out. Let's see if it works now. I can't punish that. See how it said 0? Hold on. I can't punish that. So, since this happens, this allows me not to be able to take my turn back at all. Even if I wanted to dash up and hit this character, he can most likely backdash and whiff punish me for trying to take my turn back. I know Tweety does this. I know some other Baraka players do this. That's also very strong as well. This is a form of carried, in my opinion, because there's no risk reward behind anything that Baraka does. If you wanted to make things risky, you can just automatically just do things that you know you shouldn't do as a Baraka player. And what I mean by that is, if you want to, you can start doing this over and over, or you can just do this and your opponent can duck it, remember? But you don't have to play like this, because you can have a different option. You can stagger this, or you can go straight into this, or you can do things like this. This will stop your opponent from thinking he can wake up. And see how that jails? Oh, let me do it right. See that? My opponent can't do anything about this. See if I can jail it. My opponent has to block all that. If he does not have meter, of course. And then sometimes there's a few characters in this game that cannot armor through this anymore. Johnny being an example. I mean, not Johnny. Characters like Takeda. Takeda not necessarily can break through that, because he'll most likely get hit by cameo. His startup is too slow. They should give him some invincible frames where he doesn't take the hit at all, and he kind of like vanishes through the character, kind of similar how Scorpion is, not his wake up, but as a character where they can teleport and stuff like that. It should negate a little more hits before he actually takes hits. That's just my opinion. That's another way you can buff Takeda as a player. But anyway, the point is there's a few characters that can't even armor through this at all and have to take the hit. There's a lot more about this character that I believe that is also carried, but this is a few things that I want you guys to understand about carry. I try not to make this video too long, even though we're at 20 minutes. I apologize, but again, I wanted to go over a few things with you guys to help you understand what carried looks like. Again, carried has a lot to do with high risk, high reward not being a factor, or not anything in particular that you have to think about before you throw out. Another example before I get off is like a character like Cyrax. Even though people say this character is busted or top 1, even though Havoc's in the game and has a TOD, that's besides the point. It just shows that people are just very ignorant, but also just don't like Cyrax, and it's obvious. But anyway, you can look at her 1-1-2. That string you cannot just throw out because it's -11, and 1-1 is believed to be -6 or -7. So you have to be very careful on how you throw your buttons out because you could lose your turn. With this character, you never lose your turn, and you always put your opponent on the defensive side thinking, when can I actually challenge this character? You don't. Anyway, it's your boy Jay-Z Bottom Lip. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and understanding what carry means. Have a great day.